Hello and welcome everyone. Andy Bryan here from the Soul Pathway. And today I have the pleasure and privilege to interview Marla Kelly from Twinstrology. She's going to be speaking about twin flames and astrology and how they very much come together. But we're going to be speaking about so much more as well within this interview. I'm delighted to be interviewing her today as she's got so much knowledge and information to share. And within this interview, we're going to just have a conscious conversation to explore the subjects of twin flames, astrology, and so much more. But before we get started, welcome, Marla. Tell us a bit more about yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Hi, Andy. Thank you so much for having me on today. So, yeah, my name is Marla, and I have been on the twin flame journey since 2012. I really started to awaken about 2008, and it wasn't until 2012 where I found out I was a twin. I met my twin flame, and that really propelled my awakening to a whole new level. And it was 2015, beginning of 2015, I started to come out to help other twin flames that I had met online, doing astrology readings and tarot readings, and I've just been building my skills
Mhm.
since then. And Twinstrology, which is the name of my company website.
Yeah, excellent. So tell us a bit more about astrology and how it relates to twin flames to begin with, and then we'd talk a bit about your journey and how you came to be where you are today as well. Because astrology is very interesting. We know astrology, we can look at our birth charts and find and discover more about ourselves, which is always beautiful. I find when I found out a bit more about myself that I started to step more into who I was. I started to realize, oh, these are aspects of myself. Let's enhance these a bit more, which was beautiful. But my question is, how does this relate to twin flames?
Well, you're probably aware that our natal chart is our soul's map,
Yeah,
really. And our birth chart contains all of our incarnational information, if you will, our blueprint. And how I use astrology is looking at what are your patterns. A lot of times, our patterns, our karmic patterns, they're subconscious. It's not until we awaken and start to clear ourselves that we become more familiar with these patterns. But some are so ingrained that it's really hard to see them. But when you read someone's natal chart, you can have access to that,
yeah,
as well as, where they're going. I think in the old days, we used to look at astrology as, um, I call it doom and gloom astrology, right? Like
yeah,
here's your birth chart. Oh my gosh, you've got all these issues and you're stuck with them. You're kind of screwed for your life because you have Pluto conjunct your sun and Saturn conjunct your moon. So
yeah,
sorry, but you're in trouble. But that's really not what astrology is, and we know that now. It's a chance for us to move through the negative, like we have aspects have negative and positive qualities.
mm,
When you move through the more challenging aspects of those, you get to the beauty of that, or the gold,
yeah,
and it gives you a skill or ability. It's very much connected to our karma, and our other timelines, because it's the same thing that we're doing as we clear our karma.
mm,
We're clearing the negative of those patterns to get to the gold, right? Um, when you're trying to embody your higher self
yeah,
and you have these ego patterns, your higher self is kind of blocked through those patterns. But
yeah,
when you work through it, then you're able to then activate the skills that came for you. Like in your timelines, you always have good skills that you developed, even though you suffered
yeah,
perhaps for them.
definitely. And it's
Does
interesting.
that make sense? So we
Sorry, you go ahead. You go ahead.
go ahead, Seth.
I was just going to say, like, when you look at your chart, just like what you say, you can see what quote unquote might be negative influences, or that can be challenging for us, challenging aspects, like you said.
Hmm.
But when we come to understand them and really work with them, we start to notice them as more of a tool for strength, to strengthen us, to support us, rather than to hinder our progress. And I found that was very, very interesting for me, just having that different perspective with regards to astrology.
Hmm. I think Saturn is a great planet to use for that concept because Saturn can represent where you have fears about something or where you feel restricted, right? So whatever house your Saturn is in, there's something restricting you about really embracing that. But throughout your life, you work with your Saturn, you go through your lessons, and then that house becomes your house of mastery.
Yeah, yeah. That's one
But
thing I
yeah,
don't know where my Saturn is actually. I know where a lot of my other planets are, but with regards to Saturn, that's I'm not too familiar with where that one is, to be honest.
you'll have to look that up.
Definitely, definitely. So let's jump into twin flames now. Or before we jump into twin flames, I wanted to find out more about your journey, actually. You know, how did your journey begin, and how did you, first of all, connect with your twin flame, and how did you begin to really understand yourself and your astrology with relation to your twin?
Hmm. Well, the first part of my journey, I kind of knew of my twin, but that was really it. Like we had connected in the physical, very minorly, um,
Yeah,
but that was it. And so I did the beginning part of my journey on my own, really
yeah,
awakening. And it's funny because at that time, that's when I first came really into astrology. I'd always been interested in astrology, but I never knew my birth time. So
yeah,
I couldn't really draw a chart for myself. So I never got that far into it. I mostly focused on sun sign astrology, which is the astrology that most people know.
yeah, yeah,
But getting activated by my twin, um, I started looking into astrology more because I was looking for answers of what was going on.
yeah.
And I suddenly had this recall that said, go upstairs and go in this drawer, and there's something that your mother gave you that has your birth time on it. And
Excellent.
sure enough, it was there. And that was it. And then I studied astrology basically 24/7
Yeah,
for 3 years.
excellent. Because
And
astrology is
then,
an art, isn't it? It really is an art. I mean,
yeah,
I've studied astrology not formally, but to understand my own chart, and there is so much, so much to it, isn't there? So
yeah, I don't know how. I mean, there's some really good astrologers out there that do have a wide breadth of knowledge, but to know everything about astrology, that's a tall order for someone because there's so many different types and different ways of reading charts and different theories. Yeah,
yeah,
it's pretty massive. But that was
excellent,
astrology was the first skill that I began to develop
excellent.
and started to lead me to more of uh, my gifts and clairvoyance and that sort of thing. Also, around
Yeah,
that time, I started to have past life flashbacks.
yeah,
And so that led me into multidimensionality. And I've known since then that teaching multidimensionality is part of how I'm to be of service here.
yeah,
Astrology is one way to do that because I talked about the natal chart being your map. Your chart will show you also the things that that's going on with you and your twin, what you need to clear, those sort of things. The same way um, we can look at the natal chart, we can compare natal charts of twins. There's different ways to do that. But yeah, it's showing your multidimensionality, just like past lives are. So another thing that I do is hypnosis sessions for past life regression,
awesome.
helping
Love it.
people connect with their multidimensional self that way
Yeah,
and connecting with their higher self. through
Yeah.
hypnosis or their guides.
Yeah.
And that's been really interesting too. It was around that time I discovered the work of Dr. Michael Newton, who wrote Journey of Souls, which
Yeah,
is
I've
an
heard of that. I've not read it
I
yet.
would
I've not read it.
recommend to anybody.
Yeah.
And what he discovered um, through hypnotizing all these people and regressing them back into not just past lives, but the spiritual realm.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I've studied hypnosis and hypnotherapy for a long time as well. I absolutely love it. I think it's one of the most transformative of healing modalities from my perspective. There's so many out there, but for me, I don't know what it is about hypnotherapy, but it gets to the roots of where the pain lies, and it helps you really work through whatever needs to be healed, doesn't it? So it's beautiful.
It can
Absolutely
help you
beautiful.
step out of your ego, because sometimes our ego blocks us from knowing things out of protection or
Yeah.
fear. So you can help people step out of that so they can get clarity. Even sometimes in hypnosis, people still become um, afraid and block themselves from going there, but
Yeah. Yeah.
to make it easier. Plus, I really like that people can get their own answers.
Definitely, definitely. I find it very interesting that you've got these misconceptions about hypnosis and hypnotherapy anyway, don't you? And people say, oh, I'm going to lose control and things like that. And what we know through studying it and working with it, it's really a heightened state of awareness, really a heightened state of awareness, but in a deep theta state, or deep state of trance. But it's very, very interesting, isn't it? But yeah, we have more control under a state of hypnosis than we would generally do in everyday life, I would say.
Yes, absolutely. And we go in and out of a trance state all the time, every day. It's
Yeah.
not something that we're not accustomed to. We just don't realize that we're doing it. For example, if you're watching a movie, you can go into kind of a hypnotic state with it. But yeah, I coach people on the fact that you're not going to lose control. I'm not going to make you
Yeah.
pluck like a chicken or anything.
Yeah, yeah, those general
And you can wake
misconceptions.
yourself up whenever you want to.
Yeah, yeah. So let's jump more into the astrology then, because I've been in many twin flame groups on Facebook and online, you know, and often there's discussions about astrology and how astrology not only can affect us, but how often people believe that say my chart has got so much within it and it's my blueprint for life, like you said, blueprint for who I am. But what about my twin flame? My twin flame, are they likely to have a similar chart? And because I don't know, I don't remember the name of it with regards to astrology, but I know you mentioned it earlier about comparing charts and the fact that charts can cross over, so that we can understand the chemistry and the dynamics between two people, when they come together. So my question here is, I would say more so, how would you see like twin flames charts being similar, or do you find sometimes that they might be polar opposites because that we've got the light and the dark, or the different aspects of self, and even the different aspects of our soul, because we know a twin flame is a twin soul, that we share the same soul. So there's so many questions there, all rolled into one, I would say. But what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so it's called a synastry when you compare two people's charts. And honestly, there's great fluctuation. Um, if I knew the secret in astrology to verify whether someone was twin flames, you know,
Yeah.
I'd probably be very famous because everyone's looking for that. But there is this wide variance. So we really can't say, like, if this is happening, then you're a twin flame.
Hmm.
But what we can do is we can read where your connections are coming in and what kind of things you're needing to heal.
Yeah.
Um, One of the good things about having a synastry reading is you can learn about your twin and what your twin is healing. You
Yeah.
know, what are their patterns? What are their fears? What have they gone through karmically that
Yeah.
creates limitations for them? And that's really important to help someone understand that your twin is not some superhuman person or someone on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Often we can feel like we're doing all the healing and our twin flame is just skating through life.
Yeah.
You know, there can be these misconceptions. So it can help people have this compassion for their twin and deeper understanding
Yeah.
about what they're going through. But then also the planetary connections can show you what kind of things you've experienced together in the past. Often there's like trauma signatures, for example, um, a lot that would suggest, you know, that there's been separation, that there's been, I would say, family coming in and creating separation is a common theme
Yeah.
for twins that I read in charts, as well as kind of persecution from society, not being able to be together
Yeah.
because of society concerns. And all of these leave imprints on us as human beings.
Yeah.
And then when we are incarnated here, we're still subconsciously living those things out. But
Yeah.
once you can, like I said at the beginning, once you know about it, then you can more consciously work with the energy and help to clear it. I mean, there are
Yeah.
certain aspects that seem to be more common for twin flames. A lot
Yeah.
of outer planet connections is very common for twin flames.
Mm-hmm.
I think polarity is another thing that's very common.
Yeah.
Um, Polarities actually work really well in astrology when you have polarities with your twin because you're both embodying opposing energies and it's easier to balance those energies out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, does that make sense? Like trines
Yeah.
might be the easiest, but polarities as well. If you can meet in the middle, then you can balance the energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's so many variables and what are we talking about? You know, are we talking about suns? Are we talking about moons? Are we talking about how Venus interacts?
Yeah. Yeah. And like we already said, just reading a chart in its full entirety to fully understand ourselves as individuals is a mammoth task in itself. So taking that synergy chart, I think you said, or
Synastry.
synastry chart, yeah. So I imagine that's, again, that's just understanding one individual, understanding the other individual, bringing them together, and then understanding the true dynamics between the connections again. That's a lot to consider, isn't it? When you do that.
When I do readings, first of all, I encourage people, if they're going to come to me for a synastry, I encourage them to get their own natal chart first so they can really understand themselves first. But sometimes people don't want that, and that's okay. And I try to at least briefly, though, kind of go over a little bit of this is what's going on with you, this is what's going on with your partner, and this is what you've got going on together.
Yeah.
Because to kind of just jump into the together part, you know, I personally, and everybody, every astrologer works differently. I do feel like it's so important to understand the self before
Yeah.
we bring the two together.
And I would actually, I'd wholeheartedly agree, but at the same time, I personally believe our twin flame journey in many ways is a journey to ourselves, the journey to our soul. It's, I know before this interview we had a good chat, which was great. It was a good chat we had before, but we spoke about like the union we have within ourselves. We go on our journey to find and uncover ourselves and our soul, and we create this union within. And as we grow and evolve, we tend to strive for that, more of that physical union with our twins if we've met them in this lifetime, don't we? So that there's that emergence of ourselves first, and then evolving into our twin soul union afterwards, isn't it? So
Yeah, it's kind of that desire for twin soul union that is the motivator for the self-healing. But then once
Yes.
you reach a certain level of your self-healing, you begin to see that so much of this journey really is about you
Hmm.
and being your best self and how you can be in service to humanity.
Yeah.
And then that really opens the door to deeper energies of union.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's in many ways it's a journey of love anyway. A journey of love in the way that we have to love ourselves, and then we love us as we love ourselves. We raise our vibration, and we naturally support the vibration raising of others around us, if that's the right way to put it. And I think that's
Yeah.
beautiful because you know we look at the awakening of the planet and those around us, and for me, we speak about raising in love, rising in love. We either choose love or fear in every moment. How do we rise in love?
Mhm.
So yeah,
Right. I mean, once you develop that unconditional love for your twin, but then once you have that key inside of you, then you can develop that unconditional love for everybody around you.
yeah. And we all know how difficult that can be at times, don't we?
I think we're seeing that now.
Yeah, yeah,
Because now we really are branching out. We're taking the energies of union that twin flames have been working so hard to create within themselves.
mhm,
And now we're transitioning that to how can we bring this unconditional love to each other within a wider society
yeah.
to create a supportive society for everybody in their individuality.
Definitely, definitely. And we speak about rebirthing this new world in the age of Aquarius, which we spoke about before, and it'd be great to speak about that a bit later as well. But it's very, very interesting, isn't it? And for me, the big greater understanding for me is learning to love and honor myself and knowing my worth in a way that I can stand in my power and strength, not to be at any detriment to anybody else, because that's not what it's about for me. It's all about just loving and honoring yourself and knowing what's right and true for you and in alignment for you, because that's how we step forward on our journey, isn't it? So,
Mm-hmm. Well, we can't really create this new society of oneness unless we can all love and accept ourselves as individuals. If we don't do that, we're going to have a lopsided society. And that's why these kind of utopian ideals that we think of when we think of Aquarius have
yeah,
never really come to fruition because we've yet to really embrace the individual. We're always trying to force kind of this group energy. We have to find a real balance
yeah,
between that.
definitely. And I was just listening to the Tao the other day, or the Tao, and about living in flow and
Mm-hmm.
accepting what comes in and letting go of that which doesn't serve. And it's quite a remarkable balance when we go through that, isn't it?
Yes.
And how do we truly live in balance and harmony with ourselves, knowing that we, in many ways, we can't change anything. We can only allow ourselves just to be, can't we? So, um,
Yes. If we can't really accept ourselves as individuals, we can't accept others as individuals. And if we can't accept others, then how are we going to have a free society?
mm,
In fact, I did a video a couple months ago called The Political Division is Just a Big Twin Flame Journey. So if people are kind of interested in this thought process, they might want to listen to that
mm,
because the polarities that we're experiencing in the United States within the political parties
yeah,
really are just asking us to do this twin flame journey as a society.
yeah,
How can you accept, like, you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, how can we accept each other?
mm. Definitely, definitely. And I don't want to go into a political debate at all. I don't want to go into a political sort of discussion too much. but it's
Yeah.
really essential for us at this time to love one another, regardless of what political views they are. And I think, maybe that's what you're alluding to with regards to the
Yes.
twin flame journey, that love. Can we not honor and love and respect each other's views, and rise from it? But then there's those aspects of truth and how truth comes out to step into who we are. We need to, I speak about the shadow a lot, and honoring and loving the shadow. And as we honor and love the shadow, we love ourselves. And I think there's aspects of that in society as well, isn't there, where that needs to be
Mhm.
shone a light on. We shine a light on the shadow to bring it to light, to raise the consciousness, to shift the awareness and rebirth this new world, don't we? So
Absolutely. And that's how that polarity is exposed. Or I should say, the polarity exposes that. Just like when you meet your twin flame and the polarity, the polarizing energy awakens you to everything that's everything you've been trying to block in your shadow. But
mm,
you can't not love your twin flame. That's the most amazing thing about this journey with other people. When you're in that non-awakened state, when other people express something that you don't like, what do? You just walk away from them usually. But with your twin, there's no way to
yeah,
walk away. I mean, you can walk away physically, but you can't walk away spiritually
yeah,
from them. So you're forced to um, learn to accept somebody that's different from you and
yeah,
love them anyways. And when you do
definitely.
that, you start to see that where you are polarized with your twin, you're no longer polarized. You begin
Mm,
to unify that energy together.
definitely. Very, very interesting, isn't it? Very, very interesting. So I had another few questions, about we said we're going to discuss twin flames as a whole as well. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the concepts that people speak about in with regards to twin flames is that if we meet in this lifetime, then we're destined to come together into union, in physical union. Now, my thoughts on that is, personally, I believe that in many ways to be true, but it means that we have to do the work ourselves. But I'd be interesting to see what your perspectives are with relation to coming into union, and what your thoughts are there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I agree with you, Andy. I think that most people that awaken to the twin flame journey will come into union at some point in this reality.
Mm,
Um, what I've always been shown is that we are creating this union. We are co creating it with our twin. So I think, like, to me, that's a little bit how the free will comes in,
yeah,
because you are manifesting it, and you're manifesting it with your thoughts and your healings. And so the more that you go in and work on yourself and heal yourself and learn to love your twin, the more you're opening the doorway to creating that union.
yeah,
So if you're in resistance, if you're denying it, if you curse the twin flame journey, that doesn't really leave much of a doorway
yeah,
to create the union. I mean, I can't say that those people won't come into union, because, as I was saying to you earlier, we never know what tomorrow is going to bring,
yeah,
or next year, or 10 years from now.
yeah,
And
definitely.
I hear from so many people that say, well, my twin and I are not coming into union in this lifetime. And I always think to myself, well, how do you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah,
because you haven't been in union up till this point, how do you know what's going to happen in the future? And
mm,
of course, you are creating what you're thinking.
yeah,
So you might create a self-fulfilling prophecy, or, tomorrow you might wake up with a totally different perspective on the journey. So that's why
yeah,
it's so important not to create expectations, not to label things, but
yeah.
to
Very true.
flow with life and what is being put in front of you right now.
Yeah. It's funny though when you mentioned about don't curse the journey, and I thought about myself when I said that, and I thought I'm sure there's a phase in this journey where we all curse it. You know,
Absolutely.
at least I think so. Anyway, and it's something that we go through that phase of, why did I choose this journey? However beautiful it is, for me, those people that don't have the ups and downs on the journey, and I'm not trying to say people aren't twin flames, but those people that don't have the ups and downs and the depths of despair at times, I
Mhm.
tend to question, are they really twin flames? Because these really do, twin flames take us to the depths of ourselves to help us connect with our soul, don't they? And that's a beautiful thing. It's not we know it's challenging, but it's all about rising from the ashes, isn't it? So
I think we have to remember too that a lot of people are here living a journey of divine partnership.
yeah,
They're not necessarily twin souls, but they're here to, twin souls, as we know, they came here to challenge the templates, to create new templates to loving relationships. And then other people are going to pick those up and move them forward because as you ascend, you're going to have a divine partnership. It
yeah,
doesn't matter whether you're a twin soul or not, because when you awaken to that level of consciousness, you can no longer be fulfilled by what we would call a 3D relationship and codependency and things. You need to follow a higher calling to unconditional love and a partnership that supports you and
yeah,
supports you being in service and in your truth. So
mm,
we're all moving in that stage. And so
yeah,
there's a lot of confusion right now within the collective energy, a lot of confusion around twin flames because there's so much. Um, what I like to say is twin flames is like an umbrella term right now. And there's all these different types of things going on underneath the umbrella term that in the future, I don't know, maybe we have different language to support, or maybe it doesn't matter.
yeah.
Maybe in the future, maybe it doesn't matter, but
I think
everyone has these little differences in their journeys.
yeah, yeah, and I think it's interesting as well because a lot of people want these twin flame connections. They want a connection with their twin flame, because it's supposedly the highest connection that we can have. But that doesn't really make it any better than anybody else's connection. And I think it's essential just to honor the connection as it is, whatever connection that you have, because they're beautiful in their own ways, aren't they? And sometimes I feel like soulmate relationships can be much more, or let's say much less turbulent than what a twin flame relationship can be. And that can be really beautiful for supporting twin flames in coming into union. At least that's what I feel anyway.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's important in that sense to let go of labels and expectations because a lot of people will have a soulmate move into their life
Mm,
to help them grow. Now, whether that soulmate is in your life for a day or a year or a lifetime, there's no way of knowing these things. That's all part of the beauty of the journey is
yeah,
being okay with not knowing what's going to happen
yeah,
and just and it's hard like when you have a twin flame it can be hard if a soulmate comes into your life but you get prepared whatever you need to do on your journey your higher self and your guides prepare you
yeah.
to take the next step.
It's just accepting what is anyway, isn't it? Like, and I think that's the spiritual journey as a whole anyway, isn't it? Accepting all that is so that we can live in flow. We never know what tomorrow will bring anyway. We'd like to think the sun comes up tomorrow morning, but we still never know that.
Mm-hmm.
But but yeah, there's so much we can consider. But if we move on a bit now to going back to the astrology and how it affects twin flames, we look at the planets, and the planets are moving all the time, aren't they? And they are affecting and influencing our lives in many different ways. How would you say that this affects the twin flame dynamic as we, let's just say, as we move in towards the new year, and we look at the landscape ahead, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. So the planets are, like you said, they're always moving. And what the planets do is they create activations in the energy. And it's like these activations, they pile up. They constantly shifting us. They're all working together. Very often in astrology, we end up talking about this aspect or that aspect and kind of isolating things. But
Mm-hmm.
it becomes really hard to talk about planets in isolation because they're like a symphony and they're all working together
Yeah.
all the time to create these activations and changes within us. Now, as we come into the new year, of course, the big thing that's everyone's been talking about is the Saturn Jupiter conjunction in Aquarius
Yeah.
and bringing in the Aquarian age. Um, as I said to you earlier, coming into the Aquarian age is something that's going to take a long time.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
Yeah.
we've been shifting towards that for a couple years now. This will be a very powerful activation for the collective energies,
Mm-hmm.
and awakening people and that sort of thing. But something I did want to talk about for twins specifically as we head into the winter solstice 1221 gateway and into January of 2021 is we have this really magical conjunction happening in Aquarius right next to the Jupiter Saturn conjunction. And that's a conjunction of Isis and Osiris and Horus. Now, Horus is not going to be in an exact conjunction with Isis and Osiris, but Isis and Osiris will be in a conjunction for several days, and then they'll start to separate, and Isis will make an exact conjunction with Horus at the new year. So,
Okay.
what does this mean for twins? This is something that separates me too a little bit astrologically. Is I use smaller asteroids a lot, not just the planets,
Mm-hmm.
but there are thousands. There's tens of thousands of named asteroids now,
Yeah.
and so I use them as another tool. So this Isis and Osiris conjunction is closing out a 2-year cycle, the last time that they became conjunct, and that means they're just together,
Yeah.
was in the fall of 2018.
Okay.
And at that time, I talked about how the conjunction was helping twin flames come deeper into union,
Yeah.
embracing the union energies.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very true for me in the past 2 years. That's what I've been primarily focusing on. And I think most people
Yeah.
on the twin flame journey have been trying to discover how they can come deeper into union and letting go of the idea that there is any separation.
Yeah.
This creates that inner union within ourselves when we do this.
Yeah.
And
Definitely. Excellent.
it's through that inner union that you open the door to your creative energies and therefore your manifestation energies. So, in the myth of Isis and Osiris, I won't go into a long story about it, but Osiris is murdered and
Mm-hmm.
Isis brings him back to life, and they conceive Horus together before Osiris goes on to become the king of the dead.
Mm-hmm.
So this represents alchemy, the
Mm-hmm.
balance of the divine feminine and masculine, creating the third energy through their alchemy.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah.
So those twins that are ready now to embrace inner union, we're now going to begin shifting into our ability to use our creative energies to um, manifest our desires.
Yeah.
So it's a powerful energy that we're coming into. This ability to more rapidly create our reality.
Yeah.
And we need to be very pure in our hearts
Yeah.
in order to be given this gift. So we've all been working a lot for many years on clearing ourselves, and we will definitely, with the energies coming up, we will still be
Yeah.
clearing and purging. Isn't going anywhere, unfortunately, guys. We're still going to be doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
But
beautiful, the alchemy though. The alchemy aspect is quite beautiful because, you know, however much we didn't want to speak about the political stuff and what's, you know, what's happening in the world right now, you could say there's a collapsing of the societal structures, and through that collapsing there's that alchemical process of rebirth, you know, that death and that rebirth, like you speaking about in that myth you were speaking about just a moment ago.
mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that will be a big part of the shift as well. Because we can use our creative energy. What do we want to create? Right? We want to create a more balanced, loving society.
Mm.
But being able to create something so rapidly, we need to be aware all the time of our thoughts and be more balanced in our thoughts and our emotions,
Yeah.
because that's where everything is flowing from. But when you reach that inner balanced state,
Mm.
that helps you so much.
I
So
definitely
a
agree
lot
with
of
you there,
people, I
so
feel, are getting ready to really start seeing things begin to manifest.
yeah.
Whether, a lot of people have been asking me what's going to happen with twin flame unions in 2021.
Yeah.
Um, there, people are coming together. All year, I've been having people come to me that are making a lot of progress, but my philosophy is, once we start saying, well, this is going to happen, twin flame unions are going to happen, then we're putting a lot of expectations out there.
Yeah.
And we have to ask ourselves whether those kind of expectations are serving the highest good or not. I think I joked with someone
Definitely.
that, like, well, people have been saying twin flames are coming together every year since 2016.
Yeah. Yeah. I can
so
relate to that actually. I can relate to that, so yeah.
So, I mean, when you're looking at twin flame unions and that energy, you're reading the divine masculine and feminine energy.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay, and that doesn't always translate into the 3D as we think it should.
Yeah.
Like when, let's say, when the divine masculine started to wake up more fully, and that was and I think it was in 2018, around that same time that we had that Isis and Osiris conjunction.
Yeah.
And
There's yeah, it's
and they, but
sorry, you go ahead. You go ahead. I lost you there for a moment, so
yeah, but I just want to keep expectations to a minimum. But we have so many things to create. We're creating this new age,
yeah.
new society, and more twins are deepening all those things that we're been wanting to manifest. So
Yeah.
lots of things to look forward to.
And you could say it's a beautiful time to be alive, to see the dawning of this new age, because
Yeah.
it's a massive shift. Although it can be challenging right now, I do see a beautiful future. I feel it's some way off, but the energy is shifting and changing into that, which is amazing. Something to really look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, we can't. It's really easy to get down on things if you focus too much on, let's say, the news, for example, or
Yeah.
something. Um, but if you trust,
Yeah.
trust your higher self, trust in the goodness of the universe, then you can trust that only good things are going to happen.
Yeah. And I think that's a beautiful way to end out the interview, really, because that's a beautiful message. Trust, have faith, connect with yourself, and give love. You know, we spoke about giving love in this interview, and really creating that balance for yourself and others around you as well. Before we do pass out and end this interview, though, are there any lasting things you wanted to share in terms of wisdom, in terms of supporting people on their twin flame journey and soul pathway?
Well, I think the biggest thing right now, like we just said it, trusting and having faith is the biggest, most important thing we can do, because things may not shake out in a way that we think or we hope. You know, we're coming into this Aquarian age, and there's so many positive messages about brotherhood and things like that. But unfortunately, before we get there, we have to go through the clearing of the shadow, the witnessing. We have to have more and more people wake up. And when people wake up, they have to clear things. They have to look at their own shadow. So I know a lot of people I talk to, they're so eager to run to this. Why can't we just be in this happy society? But it takes time to transform these energies, as we were saying. So just staying positive, having trust in a higher power that there, and we have to be the anchor of love right now for this transition.
Definitely. So where can we find out more about yourself and your work so that people can connect with your astrology, your healing, and much of the other stuff that you do as well?
Yeah, so my website is twinstrology.com. You can also find it under marlakelly.com, which might be a little bit easier for people to spell.
Sure.
I am on YouTube under Twinstrology. I'm under Marla Kelly 13. I'd love for people to connect with me in any of those places. If they would like more information about readings, my website is probably the best place for that.
Excellent. And what I will say is, don't worry too much about what Marla has said, because just check the links below this video. I'm going to make sure that all the links are below this video so you can connect with, you know, her work and what she does. You know, whether that's you know, her website, her Facebook, or even her YouTube. So you can find all that information there. So what I will say is thank you all for tuning in, and more importantly, thank you, Marla, for joining me today and sharing your insights and wisdom, your journey, and having this conscious conversation about twin flames, because I feel this could be a great support for people today.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, Andy.
It's a pleasure, and with that I will say bye for now, and I will chat to you again all very soon. Take care. Bye for now.
It's also about the masculine coming back into balance.
I had reconciled my mind and my soul.
A world opened up that words cannot describe.
But you have to love yourself. You can only love another to the extent to which you love yourself. That simple yet profound truth.